Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and you're in for a treat today. We're back at Imola, track release yesterday, so hopefully you guys appreciate this track guide. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave any comments in the comment section below, any thoughts, feedback, things you want to focus on more, or things you think I should change, and we really appreciate it if you do that. So let's dive in. Really technical lap, fast flowing, coming at you all the time, not really much time to rest, and some really critical corners to concentrate on. So let's dive in and tackle a lap of Imola in the Mercedes AMG EVO, the new one, in this luminous yellowy green paint, which is absolutely ridiculous. So coming into this first corner then, really difficult one actually to judge the braking. You've got a couple of spots here to focus on. You've got this orange sort of wall on the right hand side, and then there's a slip road just after it, which is quite difficult to spot from this camera angle, but it is there, trust me, and that's what you're looking out for. But I tend to look for the orange marker and then brake a little bit afterwards, and you need to focus on braking in a straight line here, as if you brake while you're steering, your nose is just going to dive into the inside of the corner and you're going to upset your rhythm through this entire first section. So make sure on the outside of the track here, you need to be aiming to be turning in fully by the end of the red, green and white curbing on the right hand side, and you can hook your tyres on the curb on the inside of both of these first section corners, and then take this left hander absolutely flat if you set yourself up nicely from the first two corners. Coming into Villeneuve then, there are a couple of braking markers here on the right hand side. You've got this sort of 50-metre board, but it's more of a feel thing. You can't be looking at that 50-metre board really, because it's on the outside of the corner and you're just gonna ruin yourself. So our aim is to carry some really good speed through this left-hander. We're still over 100 miles an hour at the apex, of 105, 106, something like that. But then you need to take some good curbing, because you need to set yourself up nicely for the right-hander. I'm going to dub Alex Albon corner. Okay, so actually in this Mercedes we can hook our tyres inside the red curbing and a little bit more. In some other cars you might struggle to do that, and get on the power nice and low. You can use a little bit more track than I did on the outside there, but that's absolutely fine. Coming into Tosa then, you've got this nice slip road on the right hand side, which is what you're aiming for as your braking point. You're going to go slightly past it, sort of 2-3 metres, and then brake quite centrally in the middle of the track. We need to be concentrating on our exit here, so we're nice and early on the power. You see I'm already on the power here and I'm nowhere near the exit. We've got a lot of curbing, a lot of green curbing that we can use on the outside of this corner, to even more than I did there, to maximise our speed up this hill, because it is quite a difficult one. So let's look at that first section again. Really fast flowing, imperative that you don't run wide on this first corner. So brake early and you need to trail off the brakes into the first corner to get that nose in, and make sure you concentrate on your exit, because if you don't get a good exit, you're going to be compromised all the way down this straight into Villeneuve. Good speed through the first half of this, over 105, 106 miles an hour. Make sure you use a lot of the curbing in Albon corner, as we're going to call it. Concentrate again on your exit here. It's all about getting the nose in, using that trail braking to just make the nose grip, and then floor it nice and early. It's got lots of grip, this car. In fact, a lot of the new cars, the back end tends to swing round a little bit more, so you can use that throttle nicely to adjust that on sort of corner exit. Again, this view from above, I know you guys really like this. I put the speed on this week as well, and I hope that helps you sort of determine where you are in the track. So this one's really interesting, the line through here. So you're absolutely throwing it in, but trying to stay as much as you can on the left hand side before you cut over to the right. And again, you just look at the braking sort of in the middle of the circuit here. I'm wide of the apex, and now we apex up towards the hill, and one of the most difficult corners potentially ever is Pirietella, and the next one Acqua Minerale. So we're looking for this dirt on the right hand side here, which is it's difficult to see at speed, but you'll get used to sort of gauging whereabouts it is, and we want to be braking quite a bit before that actually. And the key with this corner is to be patient with the front end. Don't get on the curb too much on the inside, as it will throw you wide, and the track limits are quite harsh on the outside. You see actually I have to lift off a little bit, which compromises my momentum here. It's a little bit of a lift, just a bit hesitant, and this is pretty much as wide as you want to be going on Pirietella. It's no wider, and you'll get track limit penalty. Coming down into Aqua Minerale, then it really important to keep stable through this first section. So there's a couple of different ways to go around this corner. You can either absolutely fly through the first right-hander and then do most of your braking in a straight line, ready for the second phase of the corner. Or if you're a little bit more cautious like me and you're thinking of the race rather than a qualifying lap, then you can brake a little bit earlier, drop it down again, use the engine braking to slow down the car, which is really crucial in this first phase, and then do all of your braking a little bit later but in a straighter line, abusing the track limits on the left hand side. And I think that way allows you to just gather a little bit more sort of control into this phase of the corner. We can see how wide I am. And if you're going too fast on the first phase, then it's difficult to judge, and you're always sliding and slightly outside of the grip levels, especially in these new tyres. And we straight line up the hill. There's a little red curb on the right hand side there, you can see just in between all the green. That's pretty much the limit of the track limit, so make sure you keep your right tyre on the right hand side of that. So I think important to just look at that again quickly. So let's do it in slow-mo. So we're lifting off. We've got this phase where we're heavy braking, and then we're off the brake. We're just keeping a little bit on just to keep the weight on the nose, so it's almost like a little mini trail brake. And we're only off the brake now, and it was straight back on the power up the hill. Important to get a really straight exit. If you're on the power too early and the back end starts to slide through there, again you're going to compromise yourself up a hill where it's going to be twofold. You're going to feel that pain twofold. Couple of braking points for this one. Then you've got the 50-meter board on the left-hand side rather, and we're going to be braking in between the start of the curb and that 50-meter board. So really, in a race with high fuel, it's going to be at the start of this curb, and you want to go over the right-hand side curbing more than you think here. A lot of people are going to be taking this really nicely and cleanly, and to be honest with you, it's going to be slow. So we need to absolutely ramp up the right-hand side curbing in the first phase of this corner. And so you see how early I'm turning in. Our left tyre is almost over the yellow sausage curb here, which is pretty extreme, but unlike Zolder, it doesn't flip you up, and we're concentrating on getting on the power really nice and early, but straightening that steering up as quickly as possible, using all of the trackers you see there to get a nice straight exit onto what is actually a pretty long straight. We're up to sort of 150 odd miles an hour there before breaking into the Rivatsas. So let's look at this again. Let's look at Pirietella. You've got to be so patient on the nose, using that trail braking to get the nose in. A little bit hesitant for me, but if you can get a clean exit down the hill, you'll gain some good time. Off the throttle, use the engine braking, trail braking nicely into the apex, and get a straight exit all the way over that curbing on the left hand side to maintain as much speed as possible up the hill. Braking just before the 50-meter board, ramp up this curb on the right hand side. Think about your exit. You're not ramping up the curb on the left hand phase of that corner as much, because it's going to compromise the car. It's going to be bouncing over the road. You're not going to be able to get the power down, which is really, that's the idea between ramping up on the first phase of that corner. It's a little bit different from the Zolder chicane, which is sort of similar too. This view from above, then, this is probably the key corner, and remember what we sort of talked about. It's taking a little, scrubbing off a little bit more speed on the way in, abusing the track limits on the left hand side before the right hand phase, the second phase of this corner. So look how wide I go. All the way over that red curbing, the right hand tyre almost goes up towards that red curbing on both the entry and the exit of that corner. And again, this is a really good view to see how you can think about your exit more in a chicane. So look how far over to the right hand side of the track I am before I cut in to get a straighter exit on the left hand side. It's really crucial that you think about that chicane that way, as a lot of people just try and take the actual corner too fast. They're either going to run wide or compromise themselves into the final two corners, which are the Rivatsas, famously known. This is trail braking, just king of all trail braking corners. You've got this brake marker on the right hand side. There's a little black dot on the grass there, but it's also right in line with the 100-meter board, which is quite useful. As I mentioned, trail braking is king. You've got to be hard on the brakes to start with, and as you start to turn the nose into the corner, you've got to come off those brakes nicely. Those with sort of Fanatec pedals are going to be really good here. Go as wide as you possibly can here, but I actually take a little bit of grass here, so that's going to compromise me slightly. So Use as much of that green curbing as you can to set yourself up nicely for the last corner. Again, get that inside tyre hooked on the red curbing, and then on the power nice and early. There's a lot of room to use on the outside, more than I use there, so make sure you get a good run onto the start finish straight. Let's have another look at that. Looking out for the black dot on the right hand side as our braking point under the 100-meter board. It's quite easy to spot when you know where it is. Trail braking in, get the nose in, make sure you don't run too wide. I'm a little bit too wide. Using the curb there as a reference point to turn in for the final corner, and away you go onto another lap, which is up to, you know, another 160 odd miles an hour straight. So it's really key to get a good exit on that one. I think for this one I'll probably talk through the overall lap in a second, but let's have another look at that final section. So we come around this right hand up. Make sure if you're on that curbing on the left hand side, it's actually really grippy, so in the dry it's a nice sort of flings you round the corner, but in the wet it's going to be ultra slippy. I haven't tested it yet, but I just have a feeling that it's going to be something to avoid, so just something to bear in mind in that instance. Let's have a look at the lap as a whole then from in-car, thinking about some of the things that we've sort of been putting into practice during this track guide. And if you'd like to, then do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. We're well past 1,000 subs now, and you know, we're well on our way to making some really great content, and I hope that's showing through in these track guides. So nice and flowing through the first section, looking to gather as much momentum into this second straight coming into Villeneuve, as much speed as possible through the first half, but staying over to the left hand side of the track so you can get on the power nice and early. Into Tosa, middle of the track for the first half of the corner, and then you're cutting back, such a late apex, getting a run up the hill. Like I said earlier, if you don't get clean runs up these hills, you're going to feel the pain twofold. It's going to be really difficult for you to get that momentum back through the rest of the lap. Nice and patient through the apex of Pirietella into Aqua Minerala. Really difficult. Don't try and take too much speed through the first half. It's not going to gain you any time. It's just going to lose you up this hill. A lot of people try and brake too late there, and it's just not worth it. Just before the 50-meter board, just at the start of the curb, we're going to take more right hand curbing than we are the left hand curbing, so we keep the car nice and stable on the exit, using all the curb we can on the right hand side and a little bit more if need be, but don't get too wide. So there's 4 sleeping policemen there, which will wreak havoc with your car. Looking for the 100-meter board. Trail braking is king here. Don't run too wide like I do. Using the end of the curb here as the turn-in point for the final corner, and away we go for another lap. Guys, like I said, I hope that was useful. If you're not subbed to the channel already, please do hit that button and leave any comments below, any feedback, any things you think I should focus on more, or if you want me to go more in depth into this track or car. I will be releasing the setup. This is just with the sort of aggressive preset at the minute, as you can appreciate, the car's only just come out. I do have a couple of races coming up in it though, so I will be making a setup for this and for other cars around here. So I'll leave you with the overhead lap, and in the meantime I'll see you on the next one.